Okay. So for our little bonus question, I I'm always interested to because tango and you in your own life have gone through your own evolution through
Mm,
tango. So tango itself has gone through its own evolution.
absolutely.
How do you see the future of tango kind of coming to be? What's the next evolution that we or that you could possibly see as coming around the bend?
Hmm. It's an interesting question, and I think it's kind of difficult to predict. But if I analyze the evolution so far in the past 10 to 15 years, what I've seen is that we went through a phase where tango became extremely gymnastic, and very kind of big movements and a lot of very, very interesting movement dynamics, which actually proved to be more suitable for a minority of people like me who want to take their dance skills to a very high level. And applied in the milonga became more of a danger and less of an enjoyment. And so we had a rebound towards something what is called the traditional values of tango, so close embrace, milonguero, salon. And we went through a whole period where that became formalized, and formalized in sense that you can have a competition in tango salon. That means that all your movements are formalized and can be measured how well you're doing them. And what is very good about this development is that it allowed people who are not necessarily interested in taking their dance on a very high level to dance well in a social setting and look okay. Because when you have a very formalized movement, it can be a bit empty of meaning, but you will look like you are an okay dancer, and you can bring in this meaning if you feel like it. What is bad about this development is that it took out a lot of initial kind of crazy creativity by formalizing it a lot and by saying, no, don't do all these things, do less. So it's both good and bad. It's good for the social dancing and for kind of coming back to the core values of listening to the music, connecting to the partner, less to let's see what we can do with our legs. And parallel to this, we also had this inevitable evolution that goes on all the time, and this is really something that nobody can stop or control, is the complexification of tango, which means that now we are in a phase where we are starting to integrate into our normal vocabulary things from stage tango, which means that we are bringing tango to a level of virtuosity that requires tremendous skill. So on one hand, we had the development towards more social, less difficult tango in social setting. And for professionals like me, we have this almost becoming a requirement to be very virtuoso in execution, complex execution of very complex steps. This complexity will not stop because it's a law. It's a law of nature. The moment this complexity starts dying, the thing itself starts dying. And because we have new people all the time in tango that go through their development, this little minority that takes the dance every time higher and higher in level, this complexity will grow. What I think is that after the rebound towards the traditional values and extreme formalization of tango with competitions and everything and kind of cloning of the same type of dancers, we will have a rebound to that because we will start missing the creative energy that allowed everybody to be a little bit more themselves and a little bit less like everybody else. And I think this will come back. Not necessarily in the same form or shape, but as a desire. And I might be wrong, but this is, I think there is a reaction, counter-reaction thing going on. And what I'm curious to see is how this high complexity of virtuoso execution in professional realm will influence the social dancing. Because of course, people in social setting learn with teachers who do the professional work. and they want to be like them. They see them on videos. They want to do these kind of steps, which are very complex and I don't know, jumps and difficult stuff. So I wonder how that will influence the dance floor. I'm really curious to see, because they can't exist just in two parallel universes. And when before, stage tango was really something separate, and especially in Europe, not very known at all, unless you went to Buenos Aires to some tourist place where they would put up a show. Nowadays, it's becoming more known, more practiced, more taught by teachers who are now invited to Europe to teach, whereas before they weren't. They were not, people were not interested in it. And I'm curious how that will impact what we do socially, because it's not the same kind of dance.
Right. Well, I am very curious myself to see what happens.
Yeah, but then also what I've seen is that tango is also highly impacted by individual dancers appearing at some point and saying something very personal and laying out a very personal style or a very personal way of moving or interpreting music, and kind of changing the values or changing how people see dance and whom they want to imitate. So I think this will continue. There will be now and then a dancer, a male or a female, that will imprint a strong example, and people will copy, because this is what we do. We learn by copying. Like we now have lots of copies of different famous dancers everywhere. So yeah, you never know.
Is there something, yeah, is there something you that inspired you in how they danced, that influenced your expression?
Well, definitely before I was working as a professional, I had quite a long period of not being a professional, but being a very active and an advanced social dancer who was learning a lot. And I have learned from people who were very famous then and who are some of them still very famous now. And that was the flourishing of the Nuevo style, and then the kind of the gradual switch to Salon and Milonguero. So yes, I have been influenced by the iconic dancers of 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 7 years ago. I don't have one particular example because I never wanted to be a copy of some particular one person. I kind of picked from everybody, and I had my own vision of how I want to dance and move. And once that vision was mature enough, I said to myself, now I'm going to develop it, and I'm going to absolutely ignore whatever anybody's saying to me and whatever anybody else is doing until I get sufficient mastery in that vision, and to be able to prove that vision if that works. If it doesn't work, I'll see something else. But so far it's working. So I'm quite pleased with myself.
Well, excellent. It sounds like you found much joy in your tango life.
Definitely. That's definitely the key. Yeah.
Well, and thank you for sharing it with so many, and sharing it with us that are far away from being able to take classes with you in your writing. They're quite inspirational and very articulate and beautifully written. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for taking the time with me today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It was my pleasure. And sending you
I hope you
kisses and hugs from Paris and Paris Tango community, which is wonderful. Absolutely the best. A warm, very diverse, very, very vibrant community.
Wonderful. Thank you for being such a beautiful part of it.
Thank you.